how much kind of, I guess, I don't know if fun is the right word, but how great is it for you to have Jameis just distributing the ball to so many different guys to the point where, Blake can get the ball or anybody is getting the ball out there and those guys are all thriving?
Yeah, I mean, I think the buy-in becomes really critical when you see that. Everybody's contributed in different ways. Our guys in the tight end room have been involved, the last couple of weeks, but it's the importance of when the ball is being distributed, like be in the right spot, be there on time, know what you have. I think the more we do things right, the more you build trust from the quarterback to those guys, and that's always the emphasis. Like even when we're not getting the ball, showing that you're winning versus man or showing that you know what to do and where you're supposed to be, the quarterbacks see that on film. And, one of our goals is to always build trust from the quarterback that he knows that they can count on us when our time's ready to go. And, for a guy like Blake and Jordan to make some plays here the last couple of weeks in critical moments, continues to build that and the buy-in around everybody. So continue to try to strive to do that this week.
David, it looks like he's making some really difficult catches, but then there's some routine ones that he hasn't been able to pull in. So what do you see when you watch that, and how do you, I guess, address that?
Yeah, there's always like catching fundamentals that you try to focus on. Hey, you don't need to jump for this one, or let's, what is our hand placement? And, guys have drops periodically for different reasons. And, we have a lot of trust and faith that Dave's going to make the catches when his number's called. And, he's shown that. He's obviously shown the miraculous catches. And, just making sure that fundamentally we're always doing the things that we need to make sure that we're short-handed.
When it comes to the depth of your group, Mary Kay mentioned like Blake, and we've seen guys who aren't David or aren't Jordan making plays. What does that kind of say about that entire room?
It's been a really fun group to coach. The guys that are kind of on the back end of the group really bring a lot of value to the room. You look at Jeff, a couple weeks ago, and Blake as he's progressed, and I think those guys are working their tails off to prepare and make sure that when their number is called that they're ready to go. And we saw it earlier this season when Dave got injured that you could be a play away from your snaps going from 12 to 35. So those guys have worked extremely well on making sure that they know what they're supposed to do for their role, but also how that can transpire into a deeper role. And like I said earlier, the more opportunities we have to make a play or show up where we're supposed to, that continues to buy trust with the rest of the guys in the locker room.
Jordan, I think over the last 5 or so games, he's gotten the most consistent targets he's gotten, I think, in his time here. Just how have you seen him develop a chemistry with Jameis? Because obviously he and Deshaun have that before
Right.
Either of them were in Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't remember what week it was, but talking with Jordan, he's earned that. He's earned those targets. He's a guy that's won versus man coverage here pretty consistently and has shown up, in some zone targets. But, the work he's put in, and he's another guy that's worked really hard to mentally be on top of everything. And, he has very natural ball skills, his ability to win in coverage. So that comes pretty well for him. And, really proud of and excited for Jordan and the season he's had in terms of, continuing to be a consistent guy for us out there and somebody that, again, the quarterbacks can trust.
I mean, just in coverage, I know he got matched up a lot on both Jordan and David the first time around. Just the kind of cover. How is he in coverage? What do you see? Obviously, he's a great run stopper, but as a pass defender,
he's a good player who's played for a long time. So you see the instincts there and how he matches pattern recognition and things like that. And he's a physical, strong player. So I think the tight end position is unique because you can get matched up with a DB, you can get matched up with a linebacker, and how you win versus different body types always differs based on who's covering you. And so, Pat's been, again, a really, really good player for a lot of years, a guy that our guys are used to going against, obviously. And so, I think he does a nice job of being able to recognize and read things. And then, we got to know what our advantage is in those matchups to be able to go win.
Is David a little bit bigger this season? And if so, was there a concerted effort for him to get bigger?
Yeah, obviously it's my first year, but we talked to Dave about his, size and all those things. He's slightly bigger. It kind of goes up and down. Obviously, with the injury, goes up and down. So, we like where he's at right now. And, Dave, you see all the catches, but Dave's one of the premier blocking tight ends in the NFL. That's been a strength of his. And so, he feels confident with where he's at in his weight and how he's using it right now.
Why you guys wanted him to maybe bulk up a little bit to even improve the blocking realm?
Yeah, we just, I think whatever, him and our, strength and nutrition staff kind of decide on, hey, this is where we feel comfortable with, and allows him to still have the flex of doing both.
When you look at those Steelers outside backers, and I think they're getting Highsmith back.
Correct.
Obviously, you guys are involved in protection and the run game. How good are they, and especially now that they have, looks like 3 guys that are playing at a high level?
All 3 of them are, obviously, Watt garners a lot of attention, deservingly so, and, Herbig is a kid that's come in and played well for him, and now getting Highsmith back. That's a really good, group of 3 outside backers. They all have a intensity and physicality and effort that they play with, so if you're not ready to match that or have them match yours, you can be exposed pretty quick. They all have a fastball and then a counter off of that, great with their hands. So, that's always a challenge when you play these 3-4 teams as a tight end, is being matched up on, some premier players. And, a lot of the reason why they've been so good for some long years now is because of those edge players. And so, we look forward to that challenge every time we get to play these guys. And, obviously Dave's had these battles for a long time, but it's definitely something that is a key focus for us when we go into these games.
These guys is Fitzpatrick. Just, how does he compare to where he was even a couple of years ago?
Yeah, Minka, he's all over the field. I would say he's playing a little bit more as that free safety range player now than he was maybe in years past, where he was in the box a little bit more, and you see the impact in coverage, you see the impact in run support, being able to run alleys, and he's, again, a great player in this league and has been for quite some time, and he has some freedom to use his instinct and football intelligence to make a lot of plays for him. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Soak in and watch Denzel Ward in the season that he's having, given, especially the couple plays he made the other night on Monday night, but just what's it been like the whole season long?
Yeah, he's a young player that's consistent. We've always talked about how work is important to him. But I think that you really see his attention to detail, his urgency to execute, and really just serve. It's really embodied in the award that he just got from the team. But you see it all amongst the group. You see it on defense. You see it on special teams in our offense. So really, that's just a residue of him just being excellent.
Yesterday said that interception that he had to reach back for was one of the best that he's ever seen. Denzel said didn't quite match up to the pick 6 against Cincy 3 years ago. Where does it rank for you in terms of Denzel plays or all-time interceptions?
Sure. I think expect it and expect great things from great people and players. So, it definitely ranks really, really high up there. But at this point in his career, you really expect him to really come down with those plays and really finish and help the team.
The play he made where he tipped the ball up to and Craig ends up picking him. Play just a little play like that. It's not a pick by him, but it's a pass breakup that turns into an interception.
Yeah, absolutely. Rushing coverage, it works together. We talk a lot about tipping over throws we're going to get them. So having the wherewithal to play with great fundamentals and technique, accelerate to the catch point, but then also understand that we're trying to get the ball back for our offense and our special teams. So, causing ball production is something obviously that we're going to keep needing.
Message to the guys about facing George Pickens again, knowing that he might try to get under their skin again a little bit, and just the whole dynamic there.
Sure. Expect it. And expect it, meaning keep the focus on the work and our urgency to execute for our team. It's an AFC North battle, which is a blessing. Great players going against another great player in Pickens. So really just enjoying it, having fun with the matchup, and obviously dominating with our fundamentals and techniques.
Integrated Mike Williams into their offense?
Say again?
How have they integrated Mike Williams into their offense since they acquired him?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? A blocker, he's a jump ball guy, but he's also a young guy that, getting in, you got to know where he's at. He always has the ability to make those, we call them 80-20 throws, right? But he always has the ability to go vertical, to go deep, and you got to really account for him because he's also a tall task with tackling on short passing routes.
Denzel yesterday mentioned his incredible ability to close.
Sure.
What about him allows him to do that?
You know, a lot of it is 1,000%, you know, mom, dad, and the Lord. And then, you know, his urgency with technique and fundamentals. You know, Coach Brewer is one of the guys that really like aids and assists our guys in development. And he talks about like how his approach as a student, he wants to know the smallest detail. You know, the young guy wants to be superb, not just great. So when you're critiquing him as far as like ways he can be more efficient, he's a young guy, he comes out, he applies it, he does it over again, and it's important to him.
The God-given ability, like, is that feet? Is it just his feet are so quick that allows him to do that?
You know, extremely fast turnover. You know, he's a twitchy young guy, and with him being twitchy, he's very confident in what he sees. So when he sees something, he's able to respond very, very quickly and execute.
Jim was talking about Martin yesterday, and even though he's been involved in some big plays, unfortunately, this year, that you guys still have a lot of confidence in him, that he's working hard to be consistent. How have you seen him kind of deal with some of that adversity in year three, and just how is he working behind the scenes
Sure.
to maybe correct some of those things?
When you talk about Martin, I think about trending upward, great learner, great teammate. He's a trusted teammate. So when we talk about as an organization, we trust him. You know, that's largely in part because he's a young guy that comes in early, he stays late, and at this year in his career, he's still seeing plays, and he's able to like digest those plays. He's able to go out on the practice field and learn from them, and then execute after that.
Martin was talking after the Denver game. He said he talked about the number of, he called it big X
Sure.
routes that they were running. Have you noticed that a lot of teams are starting to run more of those against you guys? Not just him specifically, but you guys because of coverage, things they see in coverage and everything.
Sure. You know, largely, you know, that concept is system specific. And versus our system, you know, we do get that versus the teams that's in their systems. But it goes back to, like, us as learners expecting the expected. You know, there's some telltale signs on when those are coming and our urgency to execute that.
About Martin, you mentioned how he's lost some at the line of scrimmage, so then he's trailing and can't catch up. What does he need to do to be better at the line of scrimmage? Is it just getting his hands on guys, or what does he need to do?
Yes, just urgency to be consistent. You know, and thankfully, you know, he's the right guy in the organization when we talk about urgency to be consistent with technique and fundamentals and to have the importance of it, right? Like young players still learning, but having the forefront of being a student, wanting to really come in the meeting room and know, like, okay, what's the detail? How can I keep improving? And then coming out early and keep applying that. You know, that's the biggest thing.
Calvin Austin, what do you see in Calvin and what makes him so good?
Oh, good. You know, largely a lot of the things that we see from Denzel from a matchup aspect, as far as like he's fast, he's quick, he's a matchup deal in space where, you know, the punt returner really comes out of him, and then he can really stretch the field vertically. You know, so expecting the expected, knowing where he's at, and Russell feels very comfortable with throwing him the ball. So you have to always be aware of him.
Of injuries or what it may be, it seems like Cameron Mitchell just kind of finds himself on the field and getting some.
Can you please repeat that?
I said whether because of injuries or whatever the case may be, Cameron Mitchell's a guy that just ends up. It seems like he ends up finding his way on the field. Just what have you seen from him this year, and what are some points of emphasis for growth?
Accountability. You know, accountability. He sits right next to Greg. In the offseason, those guys do things together. But largely, we want smart players in first. You know, we talk about smarts never comes before toughness. You know, and obviously toughness is a very big ingredient for us on defense. But he's a very smart, aware player. And just like Martin, as a young player, he's a guy that he can apply things on the run with urgency to execute. Trust the teammate.
Do you feel like Greg Newsome did exactly what he was supposed to do on that Hail Mary and in that exchange with George?
Absolutely. And you love to see when guys have the urgency to execute the details. Because when Jim says when we call those type of plays, the game is on the line. So being a trusted teammate, to be in your space so that we can win our 1-11, so rush and coverage can work together, I was proud to see how he executed that.
In general, it felt like he gave us some stuff early. Do you feel like he's gotten better as the season has gone on and kind of rebounded from maybe it was a rough start?
Absolutely. Like resilient, right? But that really goes into everybody that Andrew and Coach Stefanski has brought into the organization, like making sure we have resilient guys that can be accountable to our techniques. Okay, thank you.